In 1844, members of the Concord Female Anti-Slavery Society persuaded Ralph Waldo Emerson to deliver the keynote talk in Concord celebrating the 10th anniversary of the emancipation of slaves in the British West Indies. The address on emancipation in the British West Indies stands as a benchmark in Emerson's literary career. It was the first occasion on which Emerson publicly joined the anti-slavery movement, whose cause he had conscientiously avoided. Many Concord residents strongly opposed the event. When no one else would ring the bell to the Unitarian meeting hall to summon its audience, Thoreau took it upon himself to do it. William Lloyd Garrison described the Concord townspeople attitude in The Liberator. The doors of every church in the town were barred against the advocates of universal emancipation, and they were compelled to resort to the courthouse. This is the Concord of revolutionary renown. Its ancient patriotism has utterly perished. In the opening pages of his address, Emerson rehearsed the historical commonplaces of the British anti-slavery movement, characterizing the changes in British case law from 1777 to 1834 as chiefly responsible for a revolution in the slave owners' moral economy. Emerson drew predictable conclusions. It was shown to the planters that they, as well as the Negroes, were slaves, that although they paid no wages, they got very poor work, that their estates were ruining them under the finest climate, and they needed the severest monopoly laws at home to keep them from bankruptcy. The oppression of the slave recoiled upon them. However, when Emerson broached the deeds of Toussaint and the Haitian slaves, he broke the protocols of the progressivist history he'd been rehearsing, and the mood of his oratory underwent an abrupt change, as did the attitude of the orator. So now, the arrival in the world of such men as Toussaint and the Haitian heroes, of the leaders of their race in Barbados and Jamaica, outweigh all the English and American humanity. The anti-slavery of all the world is dust in the balance before this, is a poor squeamishness and nervousness. The might and right are here. Here is the anti-slave. Here is man. And if you have man, black or white is an insignificance. Emerson represented the anti-slave as inaugurative of a new epoch in world history. Whereas the law produced the legal fiction of the slave, Toussaint incarnated the anti-slave as the condition for the law's transformation. The Haitian Revolution was not merely an extension of the European revolutionary movement. No one could have imagined that Toussaint and the Haitian heroes who had been forcibly excluded from the West's ontological and political terrain could have become the protagonists of a collective global revolution, enacted by persons who had no part in the existing order of things. This great emancipatory event disrupted the global order. It changed the relationships between what was thought to be possible and impossible, introduced different configurations of and new questions for human societies. As the geographical distance between Haiti and Concord, Massachusetts, disappeared into the figure of the anti-slave, his influx of instantaneous, in-streaming causative power took up Emerson's own subjectivity in the passage through his tropes. The anti-slave is self-reliance personified, at once the effect and agency of self-reliance. The anti-slave changed the coordinates of the entire symbolic order as spontaneously as it changed the disposition of Emerson's prose. Rather than taking up a transcendental perspective elevated above the conflict, Emerson now achieved the condition of universal humanity by fully identifying with the anti-slavery movement. Given the identification of the anti-slave with self-reliance, why didn't Emerson continue his involvement with the anti-slavery movement after this event?